Good morning, everybody. This is Gayle. I thought that I would try to do a full tutorial on something. I want to show you, this is a bracelet that I made from a tutorial that I got. Actually, it was on the Carol Duvall show. Kim Cavender did this tutorial, and it makes such cute beads that you can string, to make a bracelet, or you could, depending on the shape, you can make earrings. But everything in here is so simple that I thought I would try to show you the technique. Like I say, this is Kim Cavender's technique. And what you'll need is some black clay, some white clay, and originally I had mixed up this beautiful spring green, because I just love different shades of green. Certain shades, or some I'm not too fond of, but this is really a pretty color. And I got this color mixture from Katie Oskin that does Cater's Acres. And on her blog, every couple of weeks or so, she puts a free color recipe on there. So if you're into color mixing, it's a great place to go, and I'll put that link in the notes. But this is 1 part peacock pearl, primo peacock pearl, and 3 parts wasabi. And you see you came up with this beautiful color. She calls it spring green. But then I realized it was very close to the color I'd already made in this bracelet. So even though I mixed the color, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to store it. I always store it in this plastic deli wrap. And let me show you the package. It's by Papercon, and it's plastic, and you can get it in different sizes. This is size CP8, and I have another size that's a little bit smaller, but this is a fantastic thing to wrap your canes in. You can lay it over your clay and rub it with your finger to smooth fingerprints. It's also good to store your clay because it's plastic, so it will not leach any of the plasticizers that's in your clay. So if you're ever in the need for something to hold on, to store your clay or wrap your clay in, this Papercon product is marvelous. Marvelous. I don't ever use that word. I don't know why I used it then. But anyway, so I decided, since I had the peacock pearl out, and blue, and an aqua blue and lime green are my 2 favorite colors, so I figured since I already had the blue out, why not use it? So I'm going to use that on my bracelet. And of course you'll need an acrylic roller, you'll need a blade. Right now I'm using this little blade. You need a pasta machine, and I can't think of anything else. If you want to make beads, there are a couple of options. This is a candy mold, and you could make 9 beads in this, and that would make a nice background for your stamps. Or on this bracelet, what I used were the bevel cutters, and I should have gotten those out. I'll get them out before I finish the video. But and this is one of the shapes in the bezel cutters, and see if you can see the shape. It's kind of a neat shape. It made a pretty bracelet. So you need a mold or something to form your bead shapes in. But we'll get to that later. First off, you're going to make 3 very simple canes. You're going to make a striped cane. You're going to make a spiral cane. And you're going to make a Skinner blend cane. So let me start with the striped cane, and what I'll do, my clay is I always roll it out to a number 1, which is the thickest setting on my pasta machine, and then I go from there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off a small piece of let me get this side since they're about even, of the black and the white, and what I'm going to do is roll it down to maybe a number 3, maybe even a 5. You want this, for the stripe cane, you want it to be fairly thin. And this number 5 looks just about right. Okay, so you've got your number 5 setting, white and black. And what you're going to do is stack it on top of each other. And see the little flecks that are on my white clay? Can you see that? Do I need to zoom in a little bit? So you'll see little flecks. Come on, focus. It's not going to want to focus on that close. But there's little flecks. You can see them there, little flecks that are on my clay. That was one of the biggest problems I had with clay. And I used to worry myself to death picking off little pieces from the clay. And Donna Cato taught me that in the long, because you're going to be slicing this way with your canes, these little pieces aren't even going to show up. And let me show you what I mean. I'm going to slice this way first. I'm going to cut it in half. Let me line it up here on my grid so I can get it at about half. There, it's about 4 inches, so I'll cut it at 2 inches. And then I'm going to stack it, make sure that the black is on the white, and just press it down, make sure there's no air bubbles. And you'll see we've got a stripe, and what we're going to do is cut it in half again. I'll cut it long ways this time, and stack it. And if I had a little bit more clay, I would stack it again, but I think I'm going to just go with it the way it is. But if you slice off this end, this side, which is all of them are ragged sides right now, you'll see you have a pretty striped cane. Now you can trim off the ends, which I'll do a little bit later. Actually, I'll go ahead and do it now, just so you can see that I'm doing it. But I'm going to trim off the ends where the clay, where the stripes end, and now you've got a very neat black and white striped cane. This is cane number 1. So that was easy. Alright, cane number 2, I'm going to cut off another small piece of black and a small piece of white. And I'm going to, well, let me stack them first. I'm going to stack them one on the other. Actually, I think I'm going to run this also on let me do this on a number 3. Just to make it a little bit slimmer. Okay, now I'm going to stack it. Again, I have smudges on it. Don't worry about it. And I'm going to cut the ends off. Now I'm going to do this a little bit different than Kim did, because I've learned another method of doing this from Donna Cato. The hardest part of a spiral cane is getting the little spiral on the inside. So what Donna does is she, let's see, which way should I fold it? I should probably fold it this way. Okay, I've stacked these two together, and what I'm going to do is run them through the pasta machine. Which really makes them thin. And then what I'm going to do is fold it in half. And then I'm going to roll. If folding it in half gives you a little bit better coil in the middle. And you'll see what I mean. Just roll it to seal it. And let me cut the end off and see what we've got. See, there you go. A perfect jelly roll. So that's cane number 2 is your jelly roll. If I'd used more clay, the jelly roll would have been bigger. But you don't need that much. That's why I'm making my canes pretty small. You can use however amount of clay that you use. I'm probably using about a half a package of Primo for each one of these. You probably would need a whole package at least of the black and the white. But then the next one we're going to do is a Skinner blend. Now maybe you've worked with Skinner blends before. I don't make them a perfect rectangle, but I like to get them kind of close. And what I do is I cut it in half diagonally, and then turn it so that your angles meet, and then put those two together. So you've got 2 layers. So you've got 2 layers of the blue clay. Then you do the same thing with the white clay. Let me go ahead and cut mine. And what I like, this is not the way I would teach you to do a Skinner blend, but it's going to work for me for right now. What I like to do, since white is the smallest, the least amount of clay that I've got, let me make my rectangle from the white. And then make this the same size. Sorry, it's one of these tongue twister moments where I twist my tongue instead of talk. So now you've got 2 triangles that are the same size. Now what you do is you line these up, and I'm going to offset them just a little bit. Actually, let me offset it this way so I cut off. And push them together. Actually, there's more blue on this. I forgot I didn't take this down to a number 3. Sorry about that. I had made a little mistake and I needed to fix it before we went any further. So anyway, I've now got my blue in the same thickness as my white. And I'm going to put them together and offset them. And push the seams together. And the reason that I'm offsetting them, let me get them together. And another thing I use is one of these pastry scrapers. It's really good for getting your clay up off your surface without messing with your blade. But if you look at this way, if I had moved this blue all the way down to the point, oh, let me come in a little bit. If I had moved this blue all the way down to the point, then we wouldn't have any white. It would be a lighter blue, but it wouldn't be white. So doing it this way, and then cut off those little tags. Now I've got about 1/4 of an inch that's going to be all white, and about 1/4 of an inch that's going to be all blue when I roll it through the pasta machine. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll this a couple of times so you can see what happens. I'm sorry for the noise. Alright, see, I've rolled it through, and I'm still using the number 3 because this was pretty soft clay. And this is what we've got. See, we've got blue at this end and white on this side. Now what you do, make sure that you roll it always in the same direction. But when you fold your clay to put it through the pasta machine again, make sure the white is on white and the blue is on blue. And then roll it through again. Now, this side looks like it's a lot of white, but that side looks like it's a lot of blue. And what that's going to be doing eventually is blending through here. So let's do it one more time. Fold the white on the white and the blue on the blue and go through the pasta machine one more time. Again, there's blue, and this time there's more blue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue to blend it, and I'll stop every once in a while to show you what it looks like. But you need to do this about 20-25 times for it to be a full blend. But I'm going to pause this right now while I run it through the pasta machine. Okay, I've run it through the pasta machine about 10 times. Let me get it out of the glare. And you can see that it's beginning to graduate in color. I also notice I've got a little bit of white down here on the end. That's no problem. What I'm going to do is just add another little strip of the turquoise on the end. And matter of fact, I'm going to make it double since this is, no, this is all the same width. Anyway, so now I've got the blue on the end, and it's going to give me some turquoise, the peacock pearl on the end. And then I'm going to fold it. And I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, here's my Skinner blend. Isn't it pretty? And you can see it graduates from white into a lighter aqua and then over to where it's the peacock pearl. I think that's beautiful. It's not totally square. You can tug on it a little bit to get it square. That's fine. But now what we're going to do, we're going to fold it just like we did before when we were going to put it through the pasta machine. Except this time, we're going to put it through the pasta machine this way. Because what we're going to do is make a long sheet that's progressed from white to peacock blue. So let me put it out. Right now I'm on a number 3, and sorry, I'm going to make noise again. And you see it made it longer. Let me zoom back out. Made it longer. And what I'm going to do is maybe go down, this is a 4. Let's see how that does. See, it made it a little bit longer. And I'm just going to go one more time to a 5. The thinner you make your clay in this step, the prettier your roll is going to be at the end. So let me see what happens here. Okay, this is on a number 5. So let me lay this down. And I want as much of this white as I can, so I'm just going to square that up a little bit. That's what I love about clay. It is so forgiving, and you can manipulate it to do what you want it to do. Now, what we're going to do here, I'm trying to look at Kim's instructions because I want to make sure I tell you the correct way. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, sorry, I saw something that didn't make sense to me, and I needed to make sure I was reading it correctly. And I read it correctly, I just didn't understand it correctly. So what we're going to do, let me move my clay out of the way, is lay this down, and we're going to roll this starting at the white end. And you start rolling very, very tiny, because you don't want to trap any air. You push as much air out of this as you can. And then you can start rolling a little bit. Now what I do when I get to this point, I have a little acrylic plate that's got copper paint on it from, let me get another one. Well, this will have to do. The other one's not in my drawer. Just make sure it's clean. And then you can take and lay it on that roll and just roll it with this. And it helps you to get a consistent roll without having your finger marks in it. When you roll with your fingers, or at least with me, I end up, when I roll it this way, I end up with finger marks in it. So this way you don't have that, and it rolls it nice and tight. And there you go. And we just roll it to smooth the seams. I probably ought to take my rings off. I forgot I had them on. I don't wear rings that often, and I just went to the beach, which is where I've been. Sorry, I haven't been around much the last couple of weeks. But I went to the beach and I bought new rings. Oh, and the little one doesn't want to come off. Okay, I just won't roll with my little finger. So we've got this. Let me cut the end off so you can see what we've got. We've got this pretty cane now that's white in the center and then the peacock blue on the outside. Now, I know you can't see, and I don't think there's any way this is going to pick it up. But there's little rings in here that are the layers of clay, because as you go along, as you're rolling it, the clay is getting darker and darker. So the reason I went thin with my clay is so that those rings wouldn't be so thick. You know, like this one. See, that's a thick ring. This is very thin rings. Now, I know this is a different type of cane, but you know that it's just better to do it this way. So let me roll that out evenly. And I'm a big believer in plexiglass. I have so many, and in order to get this even, I use the plexiglass. And what I'm going to do is cut this into 3 sections. Let's see, how big is it? It's 1, 2, 3. It's 4 inches long. So I'm going to cut it in 3. So it'd be about 1 inch and, what is that? About 1 inch and 1/3. So this would be 1 inch and about 1/3. I'll cut it there, and I'll cut it here. You don't have to be exact. I just didn't want to have a bunch. But now I've got 3 of these canes, and we're going to do something different with each one. Now I'm going to go back to the jelly roll cane that we did, the black and white, and I'm going to put this down. And I'm going to cut, let's see, this isn't quite long enough to cut into 3 slices, so let me just cut this, let me just cut a piece off. And what I'm going to do with this piece is I'm going to reduce it. You roll it, you pull on it, push the ends in so you don't lose your center, roll it, pull it, twist it, but you want to do this until it's about 1/8 of an inch long. And again, you can use your acrylic rod if you want to make sure you're not putting prints in it, but just rolling it with a little bit of pressure will make it small. Now, I said we're going to need this to 1/8 of an inch. I don't think we're going to need this much because we're only at about 1/4 of an inch. So let me trim this in half again and save that piece. And we will take this out to about 2 inches. Well, this one's got some air in it. The way I could tell when I was rolling it with the roller, it was flopping. So let me roll this one down. And I am going to trim this end off because it's beginning to hollow and it will create an air pocket. So we're almost there. Roll this to about 2 inches. And if that's not small enough when we go to use it, I will reduce it more. It's really not 1/8 of an inch, but we'll see how that goes. And then this one we're going to reduce to about 3/8. Now 3/8 inch is between 1/4 and 1/2. So that's about how wide we need it. So let's reduce this by pulling on it. If it's freshly conditioned clay, you can pull on it and twist it. You can roll it, twist it, and pull it. But you can get a lot of reduction done this way without damaging your cane. If your cane is not warm all the way, well, it doesn't have to be warm, but your clay has to be the same temperature. Your cane has to be the same temperature all the way through, or else you're going to end up not reducing it correctly. Because you're colder, it'll be colder in the center than it is on the outside, and you'll be reducing the outside, but the inside will stay the same. But I think that's about 3/8 of an inch. Now let's see, what else are we going to do? Excuse me. Looking at my directions. Okay, now we're going to go back to our bullseye. And we're going to start making a flower cane. So we'll reduce this section to 1/8 of an inch. And you wonder why, and what it needs to be is the same diameter as this, because this is going to be the center of our flower cane and leaf cane. So you just reduce it down. This is the way I was taught, was to roll it with your fingers and slowly move your fingers out, and it will reduce as you move it out. But you want it all to be about the same diameter as your center. And I'm going to cut this. Let me cut the end off because the ends never really look good. And then I'm going to, let's see. I don't know if you like doing real time. I do. I really appreciate the YouTubers that speed their videos up so that you can see their process, but there are so many times when I want to see a detail and I can't because it's going so fast. Anyway, I'm going to cut this into 6 2-inch pieces. Okay. Now what we're going to do is take this bullseye cane. Let me trim the end off. Well, I'll leave it the way it is. And you're going to put these 6 of your Skinner blend cane roll, your cane, bullseye, around it. And if they're the same size, 6 should fit around this pretty well. Again, this is one of those tongue moments for me. I'm sitting here just working so hard with my tongue, and I know I couldn't get this together if I didn't do that. See how easily that fits together? And this is true with any cane. It doesn't have to be just this particular one, but if you're making any kind of flower cane and you want everything to look the same, then all you do is make sure that you use 6 petals outside and the one in the center, and that they all be the same diameter. So that does pretty good there. So this, let me trim off the end. And there's your flower. Let me get that up here a little bit. See, it's a pretty little flower. So we will use that in making our beads. Now we're going to reduce another section of this. And I didn't cut the end off of this, but we're going to reduce this down to 3/16, which is the same size as this. So let's start with this, because it's, don't want to get my finger marks in it. And once it gets started, make sure, also another thing, twisting your clay like this will also help to warm up the inside so that it reduces evenly. But okay, so we've done that. And what we're going to do with this is make this a polka dot cane. We'll use this on our beads. And then we're going to make a leaf cane. So we've got this section of, and yes, we're using the same color. You can use different colors if you want. You can make as many Skinner blends as you want. Make as many, if you want to do pink and blue and green and yellow, go right ahead. But for my use and my purposes today, I'm going to just use the one color. So what we're going to do is cut this cane in half, right through the center. And get down over top of it so you can see where your center is. So that is in half. And no, we haven't ruined it. Now what we're going to do is take a piece of this stripe cane and cut a thin slice of this. We'll probably need 2 since it isn't a very thick. Let's put this together. Actually, I'm going to need more than this. Now that I remember what I'm doing, what we need to do is to make this as wide as this is. Now I could have used my, matter of fact, I've got a new Lucy slicer, and it's a small slicer. Let me try using this. It'll be the first time I've used it, so if I mess up, I'm sorry. But let me move this so I don't mess it up too bad. I've already messed it up a little bit. But it's nice if you have these the same thickness. So what I'm going to do is press this down on my slab. I'm going to cut off one to make the side even. Oh, it slices nicely. And then this is the mini slicer. This is not the big slicer. I have the big slicer too, but I wasn't going to use that. But this, well, except my clay is sticky. It didn't go down all the way. Let me finish it. I'll have to tweak this because, like I said, I've never used that before, and I don't think I lined up the blade. But anyway, so let me finish what I was doing before I got so distracted here. Put these together. as best as you can. They don't have to be perfect. This other one was a little thin, so I'm not using that. And what you need to do, just even them up. I think I need one more. And when I do this, you notice I'm putting the white next to the black. Now this is when I use this plastic sheet. One of the times I use it. First I'll put this and lay it over it, and I'll just burnish it with my fingers. And it does stick to it, so you have to pull it up every once in a while. But it keeps you from smudging your clay. But it burnishes these slices together. And then what I'll do is go over it with my roller, but go this way. You don't want to make those slices, those stripes, any thicker. So again, trim off the ends. Do a lot of trimming, but this is not scrap. This is clay that you can use for other things. But what I'm going to do now is take this. That's not going to matter, but I messed up my cane here by laying the slicer on it. But I'll just make sure it's lined up down here. Put it this way, long ways. And then put this half back on it. And trim. Didn't do that very well, so trim this way if you might want to. And I'll trim this way since I messed up my cane. And we'll save this for another thing. Anyway, so then you've got this. I think I did this backwards. I did it the wrong way, but you know, I started to start over so that you don't see the boo-boos, but you know, everybody makes mistakes. So if you mess it up, don't worry about it. Now what I had done is put the stripes this way, but what I need to do is put the stripes this way. So I do have enough to do that. Let me stretch it out this way a little bit because I need some extra stripes. And I'll show you why it needs to go this way. And trim it before you put the other half on. It makes it easier. So I'll trim it here. And I'll trim it here. Then you put the two together. And you can see now you've got the blue cane with the black and white through the center. So what you're going to do here is, first we're going to reduce it a little bit by rolling, twisting, pulling, rolling, twisting, pulling. And do this until it gets to be about 1/4 of an inch. Do this. About 1/4 of an inch. I told you I was an acrylic junkie. This will reduce it a little bit more even. Alright, so now it's about 1/4 of an inch. Maybe it's about 1/4 of an inch. And what we're going to do, where this mark is, where the stripe was, is pinch. And just pinch it along that one line. And what this is going to do is give you the leaf shape. This is a little bit thin, so I'm going to just cut that off. But now, and you can, this will be more like a triangle. Let me show you. Let me see. See, you have a little leaf. You can round this a little bit if you want, but anyway, there's your leaf. So you've made your flower and a leaf. Now what we're going to do is make, you've got everything you need now. What I'm going to do, I think, is to make this polka dot cane. I'm going to cut off a small piece, and I'm going to make it pretty tiny. Because to be a polka dot, it's got to be little, right? Now, under normal circumstances, if I wasn't filming this, I would let my clay rest for a while so it could firm up a little bit. So if it's a little bit sticky when I'm doing my slicing, I apologize. But anyway, so now we're all done with that. Let's make the base bead. And I think, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to use this. Or I'll tell you what, let me get my bezels out. Excuse me for a minute while I get to them. These are my bezel cutters. They're by Amico, beveled edge cutters. I said I would show you those, so I really prefer the shape of those for bracelets. This one here is the shape I used for the bracelet. But they have different shapes. They have square, different size squares. They have a round. They have another size of the same bead that we're using. Different ones. I've made samples of the sizes so that when I went to use them, I would see which ones I like the best. See, there's this one. There's the big square. They have different colors, different sizes of the round. And there's the small square. And see, this is the one that I use. But these others make great beads. I just made these forms so I could see what they look like. It's kind of hard to tell when you're just looking at a box. So what I'm going to do is make my base bead. And I think what I'm going to do here, since I'm going to be cutting it, I'm going to roll it on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. Just because the clay seems to do better. Hold on just a minute. I need to recondition this clay. And what I'm going to do is fold it in half. Now, if I had more clay, of course, I would make more beads, but I only have enough left to make one, but all it takes is just a little bit more black clay. So I take that, and where did I put my cutter? Did I put it back in the box? I think I did. Sure did. There it is. So take my cutter, and I'm going to cut straight down. This is a double thickness of clay. So if you have more clay, as long as you do, cut it in half and put one section on top of the other. Now, I don't know how well this is cutting, so I'm just going to do this. If you use this, all you would do is, let me get some clay, let me trim this off and I'll show you. I don't mind doing this. But there, well actually it didn't go all the way through, so I'll have to trim even more, which is okay. One thing clay teaches you, it's taught me anyway, is to take your time. I'm always in a rush, always have been, that's just my nature. And I want everything done right away, and if I fail at something, it's usually because I didn't take enough time. But there's my bead made with the bezel cutter, which I would use for a bracelet because I like the shape. And then if I were to use, gotta get the air out of my clay. If I was going to use this mold, I probably wouldn't, I don't know. I'd have to see. What I would do is take a small piece of clay. Depends on how thick you want it. This is pretty thick because this is a candy mold. So it's for candy. And I would probably spritz it with a little bit of water so it won't stick. Or you can use cornstarch. Now this is going to fill up the whole thing. I'll show you how thick this would make it. And let me get a paper towel and wipe the water off because you don't want to get the water in your clay. And then you would just take your blade and shave across the top, which I pulled away from the side a little bit, but that's okay. I can push it back. And this is a good time, if you're going to use something like this, you could use a texture stamp. Let me see what I've got handy. This is a embosser. I don't think that's going to go down in it though. Let me see what else is right here on top. Alright, these are leaves, which would go with it, but now would be a good time to impress your background. So that way the back of it looks pretty too. And then hopefully this will come out. I usually press from this side and it comes right out. Of course, since I'm trying to video, it's not going to do that. And of course now I have a good thumbprint in the middle. Well, that didn't work, did it? But that works okay. Just smooth it out a little bit. I'll go ahead and decorate both. So first what I'm going to do is reduce my flower because it's a little bit big. And because it's an irregular shape, you can't roll it. So here I'm going to twist and pull, just not hard, just twist a little bit and pull, twist a little bit and pull till it gets to be the size that you think you want it. This is already smaller, but you don't want to mash your petals, so keep turning it so that your pressure is on all of them. Let me see what this looks like. Right there looks kind of small. That's a good size. So let me just take a slice of this. I'll take 2 slices while I'm here. And if it mashes a little bit, just fluff it up, and I'll put that right there. And actually this is a little thick, so let me do another one a little thinner. This is when I would use my big Lucy slicer. Okay, now these stripes that I didn't use, I sliced but I didn't use, guess what we're going to do with those? We can cut from the end, cut a little slice, and this can be my stem. and let it wrap over the end. And I'll do another one. And let's see, I think I'll do that one there and let it wrap around this side. Okay, then we have our leaf. So let me cut a couple of thin leaves. And because this clay, like I said, I would normally warm it, let it sit for a while, but it's warm. So this one looks okay. I'll put this here and wrap it around. It's another thing I use a lot is skewers or my needle tool. I'm going to put 2 leaves on this one just because I want to. It's a little close. And I'll put a leaf on this one coming off this way. And I'm going to wait before I put a second. Well, I can go ahead and do the second leaf. Okay. Now with your leftover bullseye, if you want to, you can take a piece of that, or did we reduce it down? We've got a reduced piece. Remember what part we put in the middle there? Well, let's reduce it down a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is cut a couple of little thin slices. And of course they flatten out because I didn't let it rest, but you can roll it back. And I'm going to put one of these like right there, just as an accent piece. That's the fun thing about this, is you get to do your own thing. I'm going to put that there. And then we're going to cut the little polka dot that I made that's small. And cut some thin, well, that's really soft. But that's okay. Put a little, what I can do, because that's not real round, is get my ball tool and just kind of play with it a little bit. Press it on there. I can do the same thing here to make sure they're pressed on good, and it helps to make them look a little better. So let me see if I can roll this, make it a little more round. I don't think it's, I'll have to make it thicker, which is okay. And I'll just put that up there. You can take your stripe, and if you want to put a little squiggle, you can do a little squiggle. You can decorate it any way you like. And that is what you do, I'm sorry. Then you take your needle tool and you find where you want to put your hole. Where's my scraper? I'll just use my blade. Just look at it good, where you want your hole. I'm going to come down about that far and mark it on the other side. And then I'm going to go through You twist your needle tool, put your finger on the other side, and keep going. Don't go all the way through. Go to the other side, and you should meet in the middle. And I did, because I could feel it. And the same thing down here. Make a mark there. And these marks can be wherever you want the string to be. I probably went down a little further on my other one. But let me go through. You don't want to go all the way through. The holes will meet up in the middle. I know you wonder how that happens. I don't know how, but it does. And see, I think I have a piece of wire here. Well, here's a bead pin. I can then put this on a bead pin, like this, and hang it from my bead rack, or you can lay it on a piece of cardboard or cardstock or something. Don't lay it on your tile because you'll get a slick back. But you do the same thing with the other one. And that would, just like I say, repeat this. You can make each bead different. If you look at these, this one has a leaf and a stem up at the top and 3 little dots. This one has a dot here, dot here, dot here, 2 leaves, and a leaf up here with a stem. This one has 2 stripes across the top. So you see that you can do so many things. And then just string it on some elastic cord, or if you like a toggle, you can put a toggle on it. But I made this one with elastic. And it just goes on. I need to replace my beads because I used cheap beads and they've turned dark. But look at that. Is that not cute? And you could make one in every color that you wanted. Like I said, I have seen ones on Kim's not on Kim's website, but on the Carol Duvall website, where I just noticed that these beads are facing this way and these beads are facing this way. Something I never noticed before, and I've worn this bracelet 100 times. But you could make a pink flower and a green leaf, and you could do a yellow flower with a purple leaf. You could do anything you wanted. But it's a very easy, it's a beginner project. The canes are all basic canes that you need to learn anyway if you're going to be working with polymer clay. And I hope this helped you understand them a little bit and to see that even I make mistakes. And I may even make a video on what to do with this scrap, because it's some beautiful scrap sitting here. So anyway, till the next time, see you soon. Bye.